feeling like I'm Akademiks. They got me feeling like I'm Akademiks. Can't ride away.
They get results back, let's say on DNA testing. And B, will we, the public, know if there is a manhunt? Shouldn't we know as soon as they...
Okay. All right, let me get out of this for a second. Okay. So this is the latest update.
What is suspected to be the backpack carried by the suspected shooter of Brian Thompson. The bag was found in Central Park, where the police had deployed officers and drones.
Eyewitness News reporter Josh Einiger is there, where police are still looking for the evidence, in particular that backpack now, Josh.
So this random dude, the hitman, claps the CEO, hops on a city bike, rides the city bike into Central Park, then emerges from Central Park without the backpack that people are assuming may have the gun or maybe phones or other things that was integral to tracking down, lay waiting, and also killing the CEO that everybody's watching like this is like some movie shit, right? So he left the backpack. They finally found the backpack, and now they're trying to figure out what's up.
Yeah, Bill, Liz, this is an enormous break in the case. This is exactly why police were searching here in the park really over the last several days, and really specifically in the last couple of hours with a huge show of force. And as you said, a source close to the law enforcement source familiar with the investigation telling ABC News that the backpack the shooter was wearing when he committed this crime Wednesday morning and was believed to have ditched in the park, that bag has now been recovered. What's in it, we don't know. What type of evidence is in it that could help identify him, still we don't know, and the police are just starting to get through it. But of course, it's an enormous break in this very difficult case. The search for New York's most wanted man took flight today from the roof of an NYPD drone truck as high-tech cameras scanned every inch of heavily wooded sections of Central Park, assisted by dozens of cops on the ground. The needle in this haystack, the backpack the shooter was wearing when he gunned down Utd Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson early Wednesday morning. Cameras captured the shooter riding his bike into the park with the bag a few minutes later, but when a camera reacquired him exiting the park on the Upper West Side, the bag was gone. Police believe it contains important evidence and that he ditched it somewhere in the park.
Now as we speak, we have a huge...
Now, that's very important. And this is why, like, I keep saying, like, here in New York City, it's a waste of time to even try to commit a crime. There's so many cameras, so many damn cameras that I'm pretty sure, this guy probably wanted to, like, he didn't want to, he probably stashed the gun and a silencer in there. He probably wanted to leave it at some innocuous spot that he could get low without that. You know what I mean? And then maybe instruct somebody else to go pick up the backpack, or he could come back and get it at a different time, right? Except the police knew instantly that the backpack that he was wearing was stashed in the park, and they found it.
Canvas going.
And even though his face is covered, they realized, yo, we know that because you came out of the park without the backpack.
On in Central Park, we still have not found the backpack, and so we're doing a full sweep of Central Park to find that backpack, which we believe he dropped in Central Park.
Also today, detectives concluded the shooter skipped town from the bus station at the George Washington Bridge, top brass taking to national news to get his picture out across the country.
We have him in a taxi cab, and the taxi cab takes him up to 178th Street and Broadway, which, as we know, is a Port Authority bus center. Those buses are interstate buses. That's why we believe he may have left New York City.
Hundreds of detectives have analyzed untold hours of footage from across the city, turning up a trove of images of the shooter since he arrived on a Greyhound bus late last month. But he was always mindful of cameras and wore his mask and hood to obstruct every view of him, except for one. A few days before the shooting, as he flirted with a woman at the Upper West Side youth hostel where he was staying. She convinced him to show her his smile.
It's always a chick, man. Nigga had this hit down to a science. But of course, my boy was thinking about, man, I need some pussy to celebrate this goddamn murder. You feel me? My boy started like giggling, flirting, taking down the shiesty. And that's what's probably going to get him caught, man.
Hence the only workable image
Unless he's in like Mexico right now.
of the alleged killer's face.
This was a fully masked person that we had to unmask and use good old-fashioned police work. We are on the right road to apprehend him and bring him to justice.
And again, the police say, according to law enforcement sources, that they have hit pay dirt just in the last couple of hours here in Central Park, finding the key piece of evidence they have been searching for, that backpack. Of course, they now have to process what's inside it. Police also revealed today they lifted DNA off a water bottle they believe the shooter had been drinking from. They're processing that evidence as well. They seem to be closing the gap in terms of identifying the suspect. But as long as that takes, he seems to be getting...
What do y'all think, Chad? Do y'all think he'll be caught alive? Do you think he's out of the country already? Obviously, once they get a hit on who they think he is, they're gonna run through that whole family's life, like what the brother been doing, sister been doing, mom been doing, search warrants for the crib. Let's see if he, whatever computers he used, was he Googling best way to get out of New York City? Did he have passport? Like all type of shit. But right now, obviously they're not going to tell us the current update. So they might know who he is, but they're going to be like, oh, we don't know, and try to catch him. Do you think he's already out? They claim he's already left New York City, but do you think he's left the country?
Getting farther and farther away. We're live in the park tonight. Josh Einiger, Channel 7 Eyewitness.
I think he'll be caught.
Like you said, Josh, a major break in the case tonight. All right, thank you.
Okay.
They gave us about 12 to 15 minutes to sit with the police commissioner and also the chief of detectives who is running this entire investigation. And some significant new information that I can report now is that the suspect, the NYPD believes the suspect is no longer in New York City. They've been able to track his movement. And what they say is that on that bike, remember, there's that video from 85th Street, West 85th Street, where he comes down the road, makes a right. They now say that they see the suspect get in a taxi cab and head north. They also say that they have a lot of evidence that they're still working through. Here's some of what they told me.
What has led your investigators to believe that this individual has left New York City?
Our detectives are doing a very, very extensive video canvas. We're working from the Hilton Hotel, from the incident itself, all the way to Uptown Manhattan. So we have our perpetrator leaves the Hilton Hotel after the incident takes place. We have them getting on a bicycle and riding into Central Park. We then later pick him up on 77th Street, exiting the park on Central Park West, still with the bicycle. Eventually, we have him on 86th Street and Columbus Avenue, walking. He loses the bike. And then from there, we have him in a taxi cab, and the taxi cab takes him up to 178th Street and Broadway, which, as we know, is a Port Authority bus center. Those buses are interstate buses. That's why we believe he may have left New York City.
Do you know what bus he got on, where that bus was going?
We're working into that, and then we're looking into that now. It's a very busy bus terminal. We want to make sure we have the right bus, but we're working through that right now. It's all new information.
And actually, now as we speak, we have a huge canvas going on in Central Park. We still have not found the backpack, and so we're doing a full sweep of Central Park to find that backpack.
So this was before they found the backpack, because they did.
Which we believe he dropped in Central Park. We're using manpower, but we're also using our drones.
I want to get back to that quickly, because this is new information. I think it's important for New York City residents certainly to know that this individual is no longer, you believe he's no longer.
We said we have reason to believe he's no longer in New York City.
And that, I assume, is based on video.
We have video of him entering the Port Authority bus terminal. We don't have any video of him exiting, so we believe he may have gotten on a bus.
Okay, we don't know what bus.
No, not at this time.
Did he say the cab driver, were you able to interview the cab driver, the taxi driver that took him to the...
We want to be careful not to get too far in the weeds of this investigation. It is an active, ongoing.
Via a bus. Again, the chief, they're telling me that this was really well planned. This was targeted, and that...
Out front on this Friday, the breaking news, the backpack.
Last video.
So here's where we are with this. Sources are telling CNN that police believe they found the backpack belonging to the assassin who killed the CEO of Utd Healthcare, Brian Thompson. ABC News obtained a picture of the backpack. I'm going to just show it to you here. Again, this is shit. ABC had gotten this picture of it. We are told that that backpack was found in Central Park in New York City. Now, you know that for days now, authorities have been scouring that park. They've been looking for the backpack, and it appears that they may now have it. That's crucial, of course. But what they do not have is the CEO assassin. And top New York Police Department officials tell CNN exclusively right now that they have reason to believe that the suspect left on a bus on Wednesday, hours after the killing.
We also have reason to believe that the person in question has left New York City.
About the phone call, suspects' movements after the murder in Midtown Manhattan. Investigators say the assassin, who they do believe acted alone. So, we've talked about the phone call that he had just before the shooting. Right now, they're saying they believe he acted alone. So he did this assassination, killing, shooting Brian Thompson in the back. Then he runs from the Hilton.
No way he did this alone. Fuck no.
Where he had shot Thompson with a silencer. He runs on that bike, gets on a bike, goes into Central Park. He exits the park, and we'll show you the map here, around 77th Street. Just the context here, that's 23 blocks from where the murder took place. For anyone not a New Yorker, that is just over 1 mile. He then made his way to 85th Street, where police have this video of him on a bike. They say that's him and that they know that's him. Officials say from there, he walked up to 86th Street and grabbed a taxi to the George Washington Bridge bus station. Now, the George Washington Bridge is all the way north. You can see that green part of Central Park. You got to go a long way up there, 90 blocks away.
From here to here.
And that's almost 5 miles. Okay, so he gets there in a taxi. Officials then have video, you heard them just say, entering that bus station. It is one of the busiest in the entire United States. There are 1,000 buses a day that go through that George Washington Bridge bus terminal. They say that is where they lose him because they don't see him leave. So if he got on a bus, at this point, that means he could be anywhere in the U.S., even perhaps beyond. I mean, take a look at the map, just of some of the locations that just from that bus terminal you can go to any day: Boston, Buffalo, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., and obviously, that could just be the tip of the iceberg from there, anywhere around the country or Canada. At this hour, DNA testing is being done on several items that they recovered at the scene of the assassination. That water bottle that we've mentioned, that the killer may have purchased just before killing Thompson, that had a smudged fingerprint on it, that's undergoing testing. They're also testing a cell phone that was recovered at the scene. So these are all major developments. In the backpack, we literally found out just a few minutes here before we came on air. So let's go to Omar Jimenez, out front live, outside that George Washington Bridge bus station where the suspect was last seen. Omar, at this point, this is potentially a major break of some sort to show at what point he may have left, the time that he may have left New York City.
And it still, though, presents a big challenge, because even with all the new details about where this person has been and how this person made their way all the way to this bus terminal, of course, with this person being seen entering and buses continually coming in and out, the question is, what bus did this person potentially get on? And, of course, who this person is as well. And you also mentioned a really key detail as a target for law enforcement over the course of this. Where was this backpack that the shooter was seen wearing at the time of the shooting? It's part of why they launched a pretty huge canvas throughout Central Park to try and figure out.
Okay.
May have left the city on a bus.
A strategic decision.
And while how he escaped the city remains a mystery, his journey into it is coming slightly more into focus. Officials believe he arrived by bus on November 24th around 9 p.m. The bus initially departed from Atlanta and may have made as many as 13 stops along the way, but it's unclear where he actually boarded.
We're getting leads into our tip line, and we chase every lead that we get.
We could have detectives sit in front of a monitor looking at video for 8 hours to come up with an 8-second clip.
Police also today sent a water bottle and a cell phone found at the scene to the chief medical examiner's office, hoping for a DNA hit. One crucial detail authorities do have: these pictures of the suspect unmasked in the hostel he had checked into days before the shooting, using a fake ID.
Yo, chat, let me ask y'all a question. Because a part of this is like movie-esque. When you're watching this, and like I think we're all like intrigued by the story because it just seems out of the ordinary. Are you hoping he gets away, or are you hoping he gets caught? Be honest. Are you hoping he gets away, or you hoping he gets caught? Because it's kind of like I'm watching it, and like this is obviously some evil shit, but I'm like, damn. like I like smart criminals. Like that when I watch movies, I like smart criminals. I'm like, yo, if that nigga's that smart, I'm hoping he get away with it type shit. You know what I mean? I'm hoping we watch so many dumbass criminals like, book the hotel rooms on the OTF credit card. Like we just listen to so many dumbass criminals that you actually want to see one that you could be like, yo, hats off, man. Like, yo, you did some shit right there. Obviously, we're not down with murder or nothing like that, right? Like, yo, somebody say, is it evil? I mean, even if like your loved one passed away, does that justify you just killing the CEO of the insurance company? So I definitely think some evil shit. Like, we kind of want to see if this nigga's going to get away, but nobody wants to actually say, we're hoping he got away with it. Also, our intrigue, we want to know how it was done, and I don't think we find out if they really get away with it. The only way we find out is if they get caught.
And cash.
He's been traveling and walking around the streets of New York City largely in a mask with his face covered. We had to go through lots of video evidence to get that one money shot of him with the mask down.
And we learned that actually part of the reason they wanted that picture with the mask down to be circulated is because they wanted it to be seen outside of New York City, meaning they probably at least had some sort of suspicion this person might not be in the...
Yo, suppose that one picture that they're saying is him, he had like some type of makeup or facial prosthetics on.
Area anymore. But of course, a new chapter of this search begins, and police leadership say they have the resources to help with searches that take them out of state. But of course, as time continues to go on, the possibilities of where this person could be just grow. Aaron.
All right. Thank you very much, Omar. So let's go now to the former Boston Police Commissioner, Ed Davis. He was in charge during the manhunt for the Boston Marathon bombing suspects, the Tsarnaev brothers. Also here, David Sarney, retired NYPD detective, and Kate Schweit. She was a senior official with the FBI who created the FBI's active shooter unit. All right. So you all know more than anybody, a group here. So let me start with you, Ed. How big, let me just show you the photo again of the backpack that ABC News had obtained. So this is the photo that they've put out, the backpack that they say they found in Central Park. They say they believe it is the same one that the assassin wore when he killed Brian Thompson. So if this is indeed the backpack, how big of a break do you think it could be, Ed?
Hi, Aaron. It could be enormous. It all depends on what is inside there as a start, right? Is the gun in there? If the gun's there, it's going to tell us a lot about where it came from, tracking it back, possibly finding out who purchased it or its history. If there are pieces of clothing in there that he wore for an extended period of time, even more DNA can be recovered from that. Hairs, fibers, fingerprints, all of those things are likely to be found on something like a backpack, which is really tight to the suspect's body. Just the rubbing of the neck could turn skin cells and DNA from that. So they'll also run down where the backpack came from. So there's an enormous amount of evidence potentially there.
So, David, can I ask you, though, on this, right? You know, so even if it, as Ed's talking about, rushes the back of the neck and you get the skin cells, you get all of that, then what? And I guess why I'm asking this is if he hadn't committed a crime in the past, how much does that DNA tell you? I mean, I suppose once you eventually get his name, you can match it to him. But I mean, now, in this time, trying to identify him, how much does the DNA help if he is not, if that DNA isn't in a legal system somewhere?
Well, here's the issue with DNA, and DNA is a great way of identification for individuals.
Yeah.
But if it's not in the system, it's not in a database, we still have data, we still have abilities to test it further. DNA analysis has gotten much better in the present day. There's other ways in which we just we can get at least a match. Maybe there's an opportunity. We may not get a hit, which is a hit meaning you have an identified individual in this. Yeah. But it's in the database. We'll have something, and you can compare it to other DNA evidence or DNA analysis for possible family members that may have been.
Okay, all right, yeah. Interesting. I'm trying to see like what's gonna happen with this, man. Like I don't want to say I want this guy to get away with it, but I want to figure out what happened. I feel like it's a very interesting story, but it's definitely some movie-esque shit. All right. Did y'all see